Hi friends, it's Cheryl from the Lifestyle Digs, and I'm coming to you with my November roundup. So we might as well start with, where am I? Well, I'm obviously outside. There's some street traffic nearby, so I hope this is picking up okay. And from time to time there'll be pedestrians walking by me. Right behind me I have the Rideau Canal. So that means that I am in Ottawa. That's the capital of Canada, and it's located in Ontario, just almost on the border of Quebec. If I go look at the Rideau River, I can see Quebec on the other side of the river. So let's start with what I've been doing this month. As most of you know, I am a house sitter. Oh, first of all, look at my garb. It is cold in Ottawa. It is around freezing. Yesterday there were snow flurries on and off, but no snow accumulation. Okay, so I might stop this video from time to time when I see people walking by. So let's start with the beginning of the month. As you know, I am a house sitter, and I was house sitting in Toronto. And I knew at the end of October that the homeowners were coming home early, which is really sad. They came home early due to a medical emergency in the family, and they just felt they could no longer stay in Europe and enjoy themselves when somebody here in Canada is suffering. So they're very kind, very lovely people, great house sit, and my ongoing plans were for November 28th to coincide with their return to Toronto. And they said, stay in the house, enjoy staying here as our guest, which was really nice of them, because a lot of house sitters end up in a similar situation. The homeowners come home early for whatever reason, and now the homeowner says, see ya. So if you have a plane ticket booked somewhere, it's going to cost you extra money to make a change, or maybe you have no changes allowed on the fare that you booked. It's non-refundable, no changes. So now you're out the money to buy a whole new ticket wherever it is you're going, or you're paying for a hotel or an Airbnb, whatever. It can put a lot of house sitters in a financially unfortunate situation. As for me, I decided to make lemonade out of lemons, and I rented a car. And I rented on Expedia. I'll put the link below to Expedia. I am an affiliate with Expedia. So I rented a car for 11 days. It was supposed to be a Toyota RAV4 or similar, and I got the similar. I got a Toyota Corolla Cross, also an all-wheel drive. And for $325 for 11 days, not so bad. I also bought my collision insurance through Expedia, which was about $200. So much cheaper than what Thrifty Car Rental wanted, which was about $35 a day for their insurance. So I had no problems, no accidents, no dings, no nothing. Didn't need to use that insurance, but it's always good to have. So where did I go? I decided to take advantage of the situation and drive south. So I went into the United States. I drove into New York, and I spent the first night there, and it was very close to where a friend lives in Pennsylvania. I met him when I volunteered for Vaughntown last year. Check my blog. I do have a complete write-up on what it's like volunteering with Vaughntown, which is an English language school in Madrid, Spain. So we went hiking the next day, and nice guy, he just bought a house to flip. So he said, hey, I'll put an air mattress and bedding in there, and you can spend the night for free in my extra house. So that was great. That was the only cheap night that I had. Everywhere else, I'm looking at hotels. If I was lucky, they'd be closer to $100 a night, but usually I was not that lucky, and it was closer to $200 a night. Yikes. So I went to New York City. I spent the night actually across the river in New Jersey, and I was able to take a bus, about a 20-minute bus, to get to the New York City Port Authority bus station. And from there, I just walked around New York for a few hours. I saw Times Square, I saw Rockefeller Center before they put the Christmas tree up. There were some skaters on the ice rink, and then I went down to the 9/11 memorial. I took the Staten Island ferry, got to see the Statue of Liberty. And if you're wondering why I didn't do a lot of the other touristy things, well, everything I did in New York City for a few hours was free. So it didn't cost me anything other than the bus fare, which was about $3. And I bought my lunch there, which was less than $10. I have walked up the Statue of Liberty before, and I've also been up the Empire State Building before. I would have liked to do those things, but you know, the Empire State Building, $100 US dollars, pretty expensive. And the Statue of Liberty, you now need a reservation to walk up to the crown, and they're booked out months in advance, so no hope for me. From New York, New Jersey, I drove south. I went to Atlantic City. I've never been to Atlantic City before, and a lot of people were saying, don't waste your time. But you know, I wanted to see the boardwalk. I wanted to see the Atlantic Ocean. And I've got some people coming who are really noisy, so I'm just going to turn off the camera for a minute. Okay, they walked past, and I've just slightly changed my camera angle. Okay, so let's talk about driving actually in New York and in New Jersey. Before I left, I asked Thrifty about a transponder because there are toll highways in this part of the world. We don't have toll highways where I come from in British Columbia. I've driven all over the western provinces and the western United States, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada. None of these places have toll highways, so this is quite a new thing for me. And they have electronic transponders, and I don't have a transponder. New York will mail a bill. Actually, when I asked about getting a transponder with Thrifty, they said they don't supply them, but when the bill comes in the mail, they'll just charge my credit card. So fair enough. I don't know what that's going to be. But New Jersey was a nightmare. I drove from my hotel, starting to go down to Atlantic City, and there's all these booths. They look like they were toll booths where a person sat inside and collected cashola at one time, but nobody's in them anymore. But I thought there was somebody in one because I saw the sign said, you know, pay cash here. I drove up, there's nobody in the booth. I've got all the cars behind me now. They're all honking. These are New York drivers, New Jersey drivers that are used to driving around New York, and beep, beep, beep. So I kept going, whatever. Eventually I did come to a toll booth that had a person in it. It said full service. I went in. $10.85 US dollars. Are you kidding me? I thought it would just be like $1 or $2 to drive on the toll highway. So I paid it. They only take cash, and so I paid it and continued on my way. And about, I don't know, an hour or so later, I get another one. Now this one costs $1.20, I think. But the other funny thing is I have my GPS, my Garmin GPS set up, and it is giving me instructions to stay in the left 2 lanes or whatever it says, and invariably it's trying to tell me to stay in the lanes where the person who's collecting the cash is not working in the toll booth. So that got a little hairy, you know, and I'm trying to cut across lanes and honking. Anyway, it was I get off the highway. I'm on the last little run to Atlantic City, and sure enough, there's one more toll. I drive up, there's nobody in it, and it says $1.40, coins only, no bills. Well, I've got like 50 cents in US coins maybe, and so I just drove. But I checked that night when I was at my hotel, and New Jersey, let's start with New York and Ontario. I had Ontario license plates on my rental car, so they have reciprocal agreements to exchange license plate information, but nowhere else has that. New Jersey, all the other New England states I was in, none of them have reciprocal agreements with Ontario to share license plate information. So sucks to be you, New Jersey. I didn't worry about it so much in my return. A couple of places I did manage to stop and pay cash. In addition to being $1.20, there was one that was $2.40. And, I'm dealing with a GPS. I'm dealing with honking drivers. These are really aggressive drivers in New Jersey. I couldn't be out of there fast enough. So although I enjoyed Atlantic City and walking on the boardwalk, practically everything was closed on the boardwalk. The diners, the shops, they were all closed. Even the Ferris wheel, it was closed. It was spinning. It was making all the lights, but closed. So I drove from there to Newport, Rhode Island. Absolutely loved it. Had one tow rig just before I came into Newport. I was going over a bridge and it said there's an electronic tow, and I go, too bad New Jersey. Too bad Rhode Island. So I loved Newport. I went on the cliff walk. I saw the Gilded Mansions. From there, I spent 2 nights there, and then I drove to Salem, Massachusetts, because I wanted to see the Witch Museum. I was planning to spend the night nearby, but there was also a nearby forest fire. The whole area just smelled like a bonfire. I'm allergic to smoke. I knew I couldn't stay here. So I took the parking lot for about 3 hours, and then I left. And I kept driving. I thought I was going to spend the night in New Hampshire, but actually I just managed to drive right across the border into Vermont at a place called White River Junction. I spent the night there, and then the next day it was kind of fun in Vermont. Very pretty scenery. You're driving through the mountains. It was gorgeous. I went to Ben & Jerry's, did the factory tour, for the ice cream, got free ice cream sample. I started the day going to a Sugar Shack, and Vermont has this thing called Creamy. They're like an ice cream cone, but it's a maple flavored ice cream cone. So really enjoyed my time in Vermont. Spent my last night in Burlington, Vermont. Drove back across the border into Quebec. Stopped at Lake Champlain for a bit. Continued back to Ontario. Had one more toll highway in Quebec where I had to pay credit or debit, it said. That was the only thing that was in English. Everything was in French. I can't read French, but I could read credit, debit, so I aimed for that booth and paid with my phone. And I spent a couple of nights in Brockville, and then I drove back to Toronto. Actually, Toronto is one of the nastiest cities to drive in. The traffic is so bad in Toronto. So that gets me partway through my house sit that ended suddenly. I spent a few more nights in Toronto. I was an audience in a game show called Generational Gap. It should be airing next June, they believe. And now I have taken my bus up to Ottawa. So yesterday I toured the Parliament buildings. I've been walking on the Rideau Canal. I have just enjoying seeing the capital city. I was here when I was younger, but not for a long time. So there we can see the Rideau Canal right behind me. It's got a thin layer of ice on it, but in the winter it does become, they call itself Canada's largest ice skating rink. But it hasn't froze quite a bit. Like I say, I just have a very small sheen of ice. The river, the canal's not too deep. Where I was, I can see the bottom close to the shoreline anyway. Okay, so here's where I've ended up the month of November. That was my roundup. Look below, I'll put the link to my blog post I wrote about the my road trip down to New England and the New York and Atlantic City. So, I'm getting my little thumb. Jeez. Sorry about that. Anyway, this is Cheryl from Lifestyle Digs. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.